Tonight, a new wave of attacks on the eve of a somber anniversary in the Middle East. The UN refugee chief calls airstrikes in Lebanon a violation of humanitarian law.
Many instances of violations of international humanitarian law.
The toll of the October 7th attacks 1 year later.
I still can't get past that she's not here.
Increased security as protesters rally around the world. And Florida braces for another major hurricane.
You have today and Monday to be able to prepare.
Plus, drawing design inspiration from traditional knowledge.
That represents the people, the Wabanaki people.
Meet the indigenous artists using natural materials to weave a creative journey.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. Israel has stepped up its bombardment of northern Gaza and southern Lebanon 1 year after the October 7th Hamas attack. Overnight warplanes pounded Beirut while the IDF ordered the evacuation of more than 24 villages south of the capital. CTV's Kamal Karamali starts us off.
In what looks like a post-apocalyptic scene Sunday, planes take off into smoke-filled skies and land into Beirut's smoky rubble, but movement in and out of the Lebanese capital is limited.
Israel bombed near the airport, which is basically making it impossible for people to leave and even humanitarians to fly in.
Charred, blackened, and crumbling neighborhoods after earth-shaking airstrikes lit up the night sky, the heaviest bombardment so far, while Israel said it targeted Hezbollah storage facilities. There is fear of a growing death toll, now surpassing 1,400 killed across the country in 2 weeks, according to Lebanon's health ministry. Sunday, the United Nations refugee chief saying Israel has violated humanitarian law.
In the way the airstrikes are conducted that have destroyed or damaged civilian infrastructure, have killed civilians, have impacted humanitarian operations.
Israel showing no promise in slowing down its campaign. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visiting troops near the Lebanese border Sunday with a message. Together we will win, he says. While Israel also turned its attention to Gaza today, claiming to target Hamas fighters, bombing a school and a mosque, serving as a shelter in the central region of the enclave, killing more than 24 people, according to hospital officials. Many among the dead were children. Israel's allies continuing to call on the country to accept a ceasefire deal.
I think Israel is interested in a ceasefire.
You do?
It just has to be on the right terms.
And tonight, Global Affairs Canada says it has successfully helped more than 1,000 passengers leave Lebanon, adding it's in touch with a total of 5,000 Canadians, permanent residents, and their family members also desperate to flee. Heather.
Kamal, thank you. Stories of pain, hope, and heroism are being shared on the eve of October 7th, highlighting the tragedy and resilience of families forever changed, including Canadians. CTV's Heather Wright spoke with some of those families and reports tonight from Tel Aviv.
365 days later, the toll of October 7th lingers everywhere. On signs, on buildings, and in the hearts of Israeli citizens.
It was July.
Tomorrow marks 1 year since the day everything changed for Jackie Rivers Vital, whose daughter Adi was murdered that day, one of 8 Canadians killed.
My head knows that Adi's not here. My heart knows that she's not here. But I still can't get past that she's not here.
Adi Vital Kaploun lived on Kibbutz Holit near the Gaza border with her husband and 2 sons. She was hiding in the safe room of her home with her 2 children when Hamas fighters broke in and started firing at the safe room door.
She took the M16 that she had in the safe, in the safe room, and she shot back, and she killed him.
But more militants moved in, and Adi was killed. Her sons were taken to Gaza, but let go later that day along with a neighbor. Her mother, Jackie, was in Ottawa. Her father, Yaron, was in the house next door.
I was there. I was in the guest house there for over 11 hours by myself. And the attack was very bad.
Dozens of memorials are planned across Israel tomorrow to honor the 1,200 people killed, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Nearly 100 people are still being held hostage. The resulting war in Gaza has now killed an estimated 41,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, which says more than half of the dead are women and children. 1.9 million have been displaced, including the family of Canadian Hani Abu Shomar.
No one expected that much of destruction and devastation.
Abu Shomar lives in Toronto and was visiting his parents when the war started. He says they were told to leave their home in Gaza City and return the next day to find it gone.
We hear the bombardment all day long. It was a horrific night. We woke up in the morning, we went to inspect the area. We found out that everything was gone, was razed to the ground.
Abu Shomar is now in Egypt with his elderly parents, who have been waiting for months for a visa to bring them to Canada. The attack by Hamas on October 7th was the start of a year of conflict that has plunged the region into chaos, with Israel fighting wars in the south, the north, and preparing to retaliate against Iran's missile barrage last week. But despite the grief and uncertainty, there is still hope.
I came here 50 years ago, never dreaming that this could ever happen to me or to us. But we can't give up the hope.
The IDF says it is preparing for possible long-range rocket attacks by Hamas tomorrow and is deploying more troops to the border and to nearby communities. Heather.
CTV's Heather Wright in Tel Aviv tonight. Thanks. Thousands of people rallied in cities around the globe today to mark 1 year since Hamas's deadly attacks on Israel that sparked the war in the Gaza Strip. Crowds gathered, taking part in pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protests and memorials worldwide, including in Toronto, Paris, and Karachi. People honored victims of the Hamas attack and those still held hostage, while others called for a ceasefire. Demonstrations are expected again tomorrow, highlighting the impact the conflict has had on Canada. Police in this country say hate-motivated crimes have skyrocketed in the last year. CTV's Colton Prale on the increased security plan for tomorrow.
Demonstrations are underway, marking a solemn anniversary of Hamas's October 7th attacks on Israel. Preparations are in place to keep them safe. Across the country, police forces are increasing their presence at planned demonstrations in Jewish and Islamic neighborhoods and at religious buildings after anti-Semitic hate crimes jumped dramatically, up 69% in Toronto this year. Islamophobic incidents have also spiked.
The Toronto Police Service will be a visible and reassuring presence for as long as is necessary.
In the last year, Jewish institutions across the country have been shot at, targeted by arson, and in August, more than 100 synagogues received bomb threats on the same day. 4 in 5 Jewish Canadians believe Canada is less safe for them since October 7th. For the mother of Alexandre Luc, the Montreal man killed in the Nova attack on October 7th, it only adds to the pain.
So many horrible acts of anti-Semitism, and they've declared days of rage and such. It's just unbearable.
Police across Canada have dealt with thousands of protests about the conflict, the majority peaceful, but not all.
We've seen violence, hostility, assaults on police officers and members of the public, and incidents of hate during some of these events.
Neither the RCMP or Canadian intelligence has warned of any increased threat due to the anniversary.
Police forces say they'll maintain this increased and visible presence in Canadian cities throughout the week, as demonstrations are expected to continue beyond October 7th. Heather.
Colton, thank you. Turning to news south of the border, another hurricane is gaining steam and barreling towards Florida. A state already on edge just days after Helene tore through the region, killing more than 225 people. CTV's Allison Bamford on what's coming next.
Hurricane-battered Florida bracing for yet another beating.
You just got to do what you can early and just get out there, and it is what it is, right?
Less than 2 weeks ago, Hurricane Helene slammed the Sunshine State. Now all hands on deck for those sticking out another storm and learning from the last.
This time, I want to feel better inside my home and hopefully protect some of my stuff.
Already a Category 1 hurricane, Milton is expected to hit Wednesday, strengthening on the Gulf Coast of Florida to a Category 3.
It's going to have wind, it can kill you. It's going to have water, it can kill you.
I highly encourage you to evacuate.
Milton will most likely spare the other southeastern states still reeling from Helene.
This pretty much went underwater. It went, as you can see on the windows, it was this high. So it is over your head.
In North Carolina, floodwaters ripped through streets, wiping away roads, now preventing aid from getting to those hardest hit.
I'm hungry. Still have no power.
As cleanup continues in Florida, the National Guard is helping remove debris from Helene that won't give Hurricane Milton any more ammunition. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Pressure is mounting on the Liberal government as it faces a persistent push from opposition parties threatening to send Canadians to the polls early. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has the latest from Ottawa.
The clock is clearly ticking on Parliament Hill, but it's when the alarm could go off that isn't clear yet. Speaking on CTV's question period with Vashi Capellos Sunday, the NDP's House leader says talks with the bloc on how to handle the Liberal minority haven't started yet.
I think there's a difference between what they might be saying publicly and what they're actually doing privately.
The comments follow a threat from Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet midweek that if the Liberals didn't support their motion on increasing old age security,
we will start as rapidly as next week to speak with other oppositions in order to get ready to go into an election.
The non-binding bloc motion passed in the House of Commons, but most Liberal MPs voted against it. The government has indicated willingness to negotiate the demands.
We remain focused on working for Canadians and are open to working with anyone who's putting forward constructive ideas that are going to make things better for Canadians.
But the bloc has drawn a hard line in the sand on the issue.
It's a challenge for the government in the sense that it means there's only one rope left that they swing on to keep this parliament alive.
That rope is, of course, the NDP, which has vowed to proceed on a vote-by-vote basis, but also says it's ready for a campaign.
We're ready for that at any time. My signs are ready to go at any time.
And while that threat of an early election looms over Parliament, the Prime Minister insists his priority is governing.
That's my focus. I'll let other people talk about politics.
But Trudeau may not have complete control of his own fate. The other bill that is crucial to the Bloc ultimatum is currently held up in the Senate, where independent senators have raised concerns about its impacts. Heather?
All right, Jeremy, thanks. A major development in the murder case against an Ontario man alleged to have sold suicide kits around the globe. Kenneth Law's lawyer has filed with the Supreme Court of Canada, arguing there's no law in this country to deem his client's actions murder. CTV's John Woodward reports.
Hello. As a kid, Leanna Kirk loved to dance and to laugh.
She was happy. She had lots of friends. She was great. She was a real spark.
But her dad, Dale Kirk, said as Leanna got older, she grew withdrawn, quit school, and disappeared for long periods.
She became quite a different kid.
By 21, she was in and out of hospital and using methamphetamines. A coroner's report says she ordered a deadly product in September 2022. A month later, she was dead.
It's your worst nightmare.
That product ordered from a website run by Kenneth Law, a former Mississauga chef now facing murder charges for 14 similar deaths in Ontario, including Stephen Mitchell, Yeshenia Bedoya Lopez, and Ashton Prosser Blake. His products connected to the deaths of many more young people, at least 130 total deaths around the globe. But that prosecution faces a new challenge. Crown lawyers are appealing to the Supreme Court to overturn another case that found for a suicide to be murder, a deadly action must overcome the victim's free will. Kenneth Law's lawyers filed Friday to intervene in that case, saying Mr. Law is not alleged to have been present at any of the deaths. He is not alleged to have deceived the victims into unwittingly ending their own lives. It would impermissibly warp the language of the criminal code to assert that someone who mails a toxic substance that another person later voluntarily consumes in another location with suicidal intent has actually committed their murder. The Crown says the appeal will be potentially determinative of one of the largest murder cases ever charged in the province of Ontario.
Not every case of assisting suicide is going to be a murder, but they didn't close the door entirely to a situation where possibly assisting a suicide could also be a murder if you have something more, such as encouraging a person to commit suicide and taking like an active role in it.
Whatever happens to the murder charges, Law is still facing 14 counts of aiding and abetting suicide, but the punishments for that are much less. Instead of a life sentence, it is typically less than 2 years in prison. John Woodward, CTV News.
Coming up, a new bilingual law, a bust for some businesses.
They'll just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we won't sell them. We won't sell them in Quebec."
Why music stores say the incoming rules are out of tune. A language law in Quebec hit a sour note with some music store owners who could be forced to stop selling certain items without French labels. A change some call out of tune with reality. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Boschman reports.
Music, it's often said, is a universal language. But the words on instruments, labels, packaging sold in Quebec stores must soon be French or must include French translation. So says a law to be enforced as of next June.
After June 2025, we wouldn't be allowed to sell you a Marshall amp because it says volume on it.
And that, say some music store owners, is out of tune with the realities of the business. Bill 96 was passed in 2022 to boost the promotion and protection of French in Quebec. It marks the first major transformation of Bill 101, the French language charter, since 1977. Many instruments and equipment in music stores are imported, and the standard industry language is English. Owners say most manufacturers are unlikely to offer bilingual or French versions for a small market.
They'll just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we won't sell them. We won't sell them in Quebec." So of course, people will still buy them. They'll just buy them from an online company that's not based in Quebec.
Stores could translate labels, for instance, but owners here say that would be a tall order with hundreds of products, if not more. They could be forced to pull some of them off their shelves. Quebec's language minister says he doesn't think stores will be forced to close.
It takes a long time to translate something, but I think we can find some solution, and we.
What do you mean?
We have to say it again. It's a right to have all the information in French when you buy something.
But some music store owners say they hope Quebec changes its tune. Geneviève Boschman, CTV News, Montreal.
Still ahead, another record low. Canadians are having fewer kids. What that means for the future. Canadian families appear to be shrinking, with a growing number of people choosing to have fewer kids or none at all. For a second year in a row, the number of babies being born in Canada is at an all-time low. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee.
They're cute and cuddly, but the nursery population in Canada is shrinking. New data shows the country's fertility rate has dropped to an average of 1.26 children per woman, a record low, with British Columbia having the nation's lowest fertility rate at 1 child per woman.
When we get below 1.3, we may be entering what's called a low fertility trap. And that means it might be next to impossible to raise the fertility rate in the future.
The agency says Canada now joins other countries such as Italy, Spain, Japan, and South Korea for lowest low fertility countries. It says the number of births in Canada between 2022 and 2023 was stable, but that the number of women of childbearing age increased, which accounts for the lower fertility rate. Experts say the number has been declining for years for various personal reasons, but also the rising cost of living. That's led to women deciding either not to have children or delaying.
We're seeing more women coming to see us later in life than ever before, into their early 40s, mid 40s, even late 40s, hoping to have their first child.
StatsCan also reported the rate of premature births in 2023 was 8.3%, the highest recorded in the past 5 decades, saying it could be due to a higher proportion of older mothers as risk of a premature birth increases as the age of the mother increases.
I think some people are having to make these choices because of economic reasons, career reasons, societal reasons, social reasons, support reasons.
If the fertility rate doesn't improve, there could also be economic consequences, with experts pointing to possible labor shortages in the future. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
After the break, weaving tradition into contemporary sculptures. Art has been a constant thread in the life of an Indigenous silversmith in New Brunswick. Inspired by traditional knowledge from his family's past, he's weaving it into contemporary work teachings for the next generation. CTV's Sarah Plowman explains.
Nature circles Nguitkook First Nation, also known as Tobic, where Shane Pearly Dutcher's journey is mapped by tradition. Weaving metal into baskets, the latest for a museum in Maine.
That represents the people, the Wabanaki people.
At a glance, the strips look like bark.
So when you get closer to it, you start to realize that it is actually metal, and it's copper. It's got some patina on it.
From large to medium size, Pearly Dutcher has pushed what's possible. His work has been displayed at art shows, won an international award, and was the trophy for a PGA golf tournament in New Brunswick this summer. Then there was 2008, when he crafted a pin worn by residential school survivors as Canada apologized in the House of Commons.
It was probably one of the most significant pieces I've ever made because of the weight of the message and the intention of the piece.
As he shifts to larger pieces, the Wolastoqey's artist's work is sought after.
I think it's this wonderful mesh of looking at his community, his culture, their past, and putting his own artistic spin on things.
Pearly Dutcher sees the basket as a symbol of Indigenous resilience.
It really represents how all of our people come together, and that weave and the weavers and standards kind of represent all of our people kind of, working together, keeping each other strong.
Baskets to carry teachings and tradition into this generation. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Nguitkook First Nation.
And that is our newscast for this Sunday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Hope you can join Omar and Sandy tomorrow. I'll see you again on Friday. Good night.